Ease the prior afternoon, each was told to pack an overnight bag, get ready to leave town for a few days, and under no circumstances tell their families where they were going. In the end, there would be 15 attendees, including Nixon, Haldeman, and Michael Bradfield, a Treasury lawyer who joined the group on Saturday morning. Only a few participants knew the specific agenda, but most understood that the meeting would be momentous. The day before, George Shultz, the powerful director of the Office of Management and Budget, described his view of the upcoming event to Nixon, saying, "This is the biggest step in economic policy since the end of World War II." On the way to their helicopter that very morning, Herbert Stein told William Safire, "This could be the most important weekend in the history of economics since Saturday, March 4, 1933, the day President Franklin D. Roosevelt closed all the banks in America." In fact, the group was about to ignite a series of explosions that would rock America's political alliances, set the U.S. dollar on a radically new course, and reshape the U.S. and global economies. This book tells the full story of that weekend, what led up to it, what transpired over those 3 days, what happened afterward, and what it all meant. It is, above all, an account of how the United States began to rethink its role in the world, how it realized it could no longer shoulder all the burdens that were thrust on it after World War II, and how it attempted to redistribute part of its awesome responsibilities to its allies. The events I have written about also illustrate a major inflection point in American history, a moment when the United States, its enormous power notwithstanding, was forced to recognize its growing interdependence with other countries and the need to move from using its raw unilateral leverage to engaging in more multilateral diplomacy and cooperation. I have told this story through the lens of the U.S. dollar and its relationship to gold. The issues surrounding the American currency may sound esoteric, but in fact the dollar was and still is at the intersection of foreign policy, national security, and international commerce. Our currency is also a major influence on what we care so passionately about at home, including such issues as jobs, prices, retirement security, financial stability, economic opportunity, and even respect in the world. We may not think about the dollar in such all-encompassing terms, but the value of the greenback has had a broad and deep impact on the country and the world, as well as on our everyday lives. A brief history helps to understand the immense challenge facing Nixon and his team as they were traveling to Camp David. At the time of the meeting, the United States had a long-standing treaty commitment made in the context of joining the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in 1944, that any foreign government or central bank holding U.S. dollars could exchange them for gold. The actual rate of the exchange, $35 per ounce, had been set by President Franklin Roosevelt in 1934, and it had never been changed. In addition, other currencies, such as the British pound, the West German mark, or the Japanese yen, were linked to the dollar at a fixed exchange rate. For example, in 1949, $1 was worth 360 yen, and the ratio could not vary more than 1% either way. That dollar-yen rate could be changed more than 1% only as a last resort in a long-term emergency. All these provisions were contained in the IMF Articles of Agreement. These obligations stemmed from a global monetary conference in 1944 at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. It was there that the wartime allies, principally the United States and Great Britain, created a new international monetary framework for the post-World War II era. The underlying idea was that a global financial system with exchange rates that couldn't fluctuate against one another beyond 1%, and with rates that were tied ultimately to gold, would provide the stablest possible background for countries to sell one another their grains, food, machinery, autos, textiles, and other products. The new monetary setup was designed to create a foundation for a